So last time you saw a Giants franchise, we were knocked out in the playoffs. An unfortunate end to what was otherwise a fantastic season and ultimately series, right? We lost by one. It was an unfortunate end to the game. If you didn't see it, I don't know what's the point of watching the series if we make it to the conference championship and you don't watch. But that is kind of where this series is the interest is down. A lot of people aren't watching. So it really hasn't been uploaded as frequently, and that also will contribute to the views dropping. And I think as much as I like Giants franchise, it is April now, and the new Madden's going to be coming out somewhat soon. I'm deep into draft season, but I still do love what we've built here, and I don't want Giants franchise to die completely, even if I'm focused on growing my channel. So where does that leave us for Giants franchise? Well, I'm going to do the offseason. And the reason I'm not streaming this live is because I really haven't done a whole lot of work for the offseason because I knew we weren't going to do any type of special episode like I usually do. However, what the new plan is for Giants franchise is something I did last year at the end of Lions franchise. Few of you seem to remember it, but I will be doing a season per episode now. So the rebuild series will continue at least through this episode, and hopefully more if you guys are interested. But we're going to be doing basically off-season, season, jump in, playoffs, that sort of thing. Although in this episode, it's really just going to be more about the off-season and how we handle things, and less about actually going in through the 2025 year. So that'll probably be in the next episode, and this one might be a shorter one, kind of working like an announcement in some ways about where I plan on this series going. And I need a refresher on not only this draft class, but some of our picks as well. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, we traded a first-round pick in order to bring in Jalen Waddle to East Rutherford, New Jersey. And I'm not sure where we are in the draft. Yes, only a second-round pick at the top there, number 41, and also number 94. We don't have a first-round pick in 2027 either, although I can see that changing depending on how the team looks. Now that this is turning into a series where it's more about simulation and less about, actual depth and getting guys involved, there are certain players who don't really matter so much anymore, like Jaden Rhodes, like maybe Kadarius Toney or Kendall Weathersby. Could still have a couple of running backs. And then defensively, we don't necessarily need Akil Edmonds or Caleb Claiborne. We could make a decision if we would prefer him or Derek Cooper. We don't really need all the depth that we've accumulated. We can trade some of these guys for picks to better the team. And then we'll make some upgrades here. We'll do run stopper because the CPU is probably going to choose to upgrade a power rusher. So we'll get the play rec and block shed up. Block shed I would like to be in the 80s for Kayvon. And then Nick Duval, as you guys know, is one of the better players in Bengal franchise history. You look at, for those of you that remember 49ers franchise, very few of you, but Dante Buchanan was the stud offensive player. And then in Dolphins franchise, even though that he didn't really last quite as long, Ray Stevens was the dominant rookie. And then probably a name that a lot of you remember up to this point, Dennis Peoples, in not only Jaguars franchise, but Desperados relocation franchise as well. Dennis Peoples was the guy. Raphael Wilkinson, maybe even more of you will remember from Lions franchise, kind of the series that has really helped this channel grow more than just about any other. And now Giants franchise, I think you can throw Nick Duval in the Giants franchise Hall of Fame, obviously, but in the Bengal franchise series Hall of Fame. Yes, only 3 seasons, but that's what this channel is. It's not really, he's only played 3 seasons. It's 17 games. Well, he didn't play all of that, I guess. Dealt with some injuries. But, you talk about with the playoffs, maybe about 20 games per season. So we've seen, give or take 50 to 60 games of Nick Duval, which is 50 to 60 episodes of him, which I think has given us enough time to realize that this guy is a special player. And this is one of the craziest seasons I've ever had for any receiver, let alone a tight end. 131 catches, just shy of 2,000 yards. And it would have been 2,000 yards if the game actually properly counted a touchdown that was overturned after being called incomplete at first. It didn't count it for his stats. He is legitimately over 2,000 yards and 25 touchdowns. Incredible year, averaging over 15 yards per catch as a tight end. I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to see a player quite like him in Giants or any franchise history. I keep saying Giants, but in any franchise series that I have again. It's just so improbable because he was so legitimately unbelievable. Like, there were some instances where I think he could have been better at the catch point. You know, sometimes he was dominant. Sometimes I didn't actually understand how he dropped the ball. He made some drops that were just simply unfathomable, where it's, how are you possibly dropping those? And in this new series within Giants franchise, we will be jumping in to play some of the moments and play some of the games and things like that. They should be still fun episodes. It's still going to have some gameplay in it, just not quite as much, because I don't think I can hold your interest through another 17 regular season games and then into the playoffs, where likely we are dominating in the series. And people just don't, for the most part, love to see domination. They like the grind to the top, but once you reach the mountaintop, the interest is, I would say, significantly lower, which, when this is my full-time job, it's something I have to obviously deeply consider. Wyatt Anthony, also one of the best kickers ever, definitely the best kicker in my franchise series history. He is absolutely incredible, and there's not much more I can say about it. Yes, he did get a little bit lucky that my franchise settings were locked so early on because of how broken this game is. And I think kick power in the sliders I used was set to 55, but he would still be able to drill from like 70 easily, which it sounds insane. And we were hitting 70 plus. I'm not sure they actually keep the records for kicks here, because kickers don't matter apparently. Yeah, they don't. They don't care. But I think he's broken the record for longest kick like 10 times over, maybe even more than that. Does it actually keep a detailed record of this? I think it would, but it might just show 50 plus, unfortunately, and not 60 plus. And it doesn't. It just shows kicks attempted from 50 yards or more. We made 19 of 21 this year, 125 kickoffs, and 95 touchbacks is also crazy. Yeah, that's the word. Incredible, insane, crazy, unbelievable. So many different adjectives to describe just the type of player that Wyatt Anthony is, which is, again, an insane player. Battle of the Birds, Panthers are not a bird. Why did I say that? All right, close enough. You know what? I think any animal that isn't a human is a bird. If you see him jumping, bird now. Nick Duval wins Offensive Player of the Year. And Defensive Rookie of the Year is Eagles defensive tackle Alex Ramirez. Don't really remember him playing much of an impact, although we do know Matthew McClure, the Commanders quarterback, who won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Shaq Barrett, Defensive Player of the Year for the Bucks. Arthur Smith, Coach of the Year with the Falcons. Desmond Ridder, MVP. You know, if he's winning MVP, Arthur Smith does probably deserve Coach of the Year. So can't complain about that too much. Actually surprised we have upgrades here. Nobody important. Hugh Brazil and Antoine Robertson. And I'm actually really interested to see who's going to be a free agent here. We have about $100 million available in order to re-sign some of these players. And I wonder just who they're going to be. 17 players. I imagine we're going to see some big ones in here. Not off to a big start, though. And, okay, it's just Kadarius Toney? Oh, my goodness. Kadarius Toney is really the only big free agent that we have to bring back. And do we want to? We could tag and trade. We have so much money. He doesn't really want to be here. He's going to test free agency. Well, I'm probably just not going to allow you to do that. It's $30 million, but I have it so easily. So we can potentially just tag him and extend him later, or tag and trade him, which is something we might opt to do. But as this rebuild series continues, something that we have to actually keep a really close and watchful eye on are the contracts of some of our younger players. A lot of guys are just under contract right now, but Jeffrey Simmons is expiring. Barkley now is expiring. Nick Duval is expiring. Dontrell Cobb, Kadarius Toney, obviously, we just franchise tagged him. Adoree Jackson, Cody Bailey, Eric McCoy, Wyatt Anthony, Larry Smith. Okay, so everybody is a free agent after the 2026 season. So I don't really think we can afford to do much in free agency because we're going to lose our entire team if we do. And I will say the free agent class looks extremely weak, so I'm not even sure if we do much of anything anyway. And you look at the team, there really aren't too many holes on the roster right now. We've built it to be a complete and utter juggernaut. And when you see 90 overall offense and you look at quarterback and you say Cody Bailey's fantastic and Nick Duval's fantastic, we don't need anything there. The offensive line's pretty good, although not amazing, but I mean pretty good. The receiver core I like quite a bit. And then defensively, it is really tougher to get better than what we have going on right now. So I don't really know what we would do. I think it's more going to be about, keeping this team together and making good draft picks. I think that's going to be the big thing because with no first round picks, we're going to have to really find value down the board. A lot of the talent is in that first round usually, obviously. But there are some steals to be had throughout the draft, so that's something we're going to have to look at. And, our team is so good that it's really just, a best player available type of thing. So we're going to take a look at the draft class here and see if there's anything, really worth drafting. I would say for the most part, our team's just so good. It's just take best player available. What we could do is think about some of the guys that are going to be free agents and prepare for those guys to be gone. That's something that wouldn't be a bad idea if we're trying to, move on from one of those guys. I think outside linebacker is really a position we could draft, even with Caleb Claiborne, because Derek Cooper's going to be a free agent. Receiver is something we could consider. I don't know. I think, honestly, there are a lot of different options. Marquis Murray, by the way, is one of the craziest names I've ever seen. I want to throw that out there because, that is ridiculous. The marquee player, Marquis Murray. And I actually do have some of these linebackers scouted already. A lot of them are on my board. Could go with a pass rusher. And then Terry Randolph down the board here is kind of like a lot of the players we've looked at throughout this series. He looks like a hybrid of Akil Edmonds, Caleb Claiborne, and John Bost. Not the fastest. It's not like the biggest need. We've drafted a lot of linebackers in this series, but this is where the value seems to be, with linebacker down the board. So it's something we could do. I think there's a scenario where Derek Cooper walks and Caleb Claiborne becomes a starter. We have John Bost. We could get more depth. I don't know. As I've said, the team's pretty awesome. That's just the reality. The team is pretty awesome. Anything we draft is not going to be the biggest position of need. So Otis Holt could be a cool player to go after, but unfortunately with the top 5 projection, it's just not going to be in the cards. He's probably a top 5 talent in the draft. A, catch and traffic, A, release, B, short route running, C, deep. I think medium route running is probably at least a B. Spectacular catch I could see being an A. I think he's going to be really good. Probably at least a 78 overall. I would say a 78 overall would be my guess. But I don't think we're going to be able to get into position to draft him. I'm not going to do anything crazy. We already don't have a ton of draft capital as it is. So we got to be a little bit careful with what we do in the draft, to be honest. I can't really navigate the board too much. So I have to kind of see what falls to us. But we do have 5th-year options to pick up as well. And there's going to be a lot of them. Because I think we had 3 first-round picks in this draft, right? Cody Bailey, contract coming up. So we could give ourselves a little bit of a buffer with all the expiring contracts. We are going to pick up a lot of these 5th-year options, I think. And keeping Cody Bailey as cheap as possible for as long as possible is going to be good. Now, I know he's going to be expensive either way. Some of these guys... Whoa, hold on a second. You think Dontrell Cobb was barely on the field last season? Dude, what do they base these off of? Is it just randomly generated what the assistant GM tells you? He was my starting Mike linebacker and probably had more tackles than anybody by a mile. I'm going to pick up the 5th-year option on Dontrell Cobb. And there should be another one in here as well. No, maybe it was just those two, actually. Yeah, the next year, I think we may have had 3 first-round picks. But keeping those guys around as cheaply as possible is going to be nice. Dontrell Cobb might be a little bit more expensive than he's worth. But Cody Bailey, for sure, is going to give us a nice little kind of break before extending some other players. Akil Edmonds, Jaden Rhodes, players that could be traded. Realistically, it could happen. Those could be used to help us trade up if we wanted to do that. I honestly think this could end up being an offensive lineman draft. I do like the offensive linemen that are on the board. I really think there are some talented players I want to know more about. I don't know that we'd go tackle, but I think guard is certainly in play. Even added a quarterback and a couple running backs on here. I don't know. I think this draft is likely going to be unexceptional. I have Sidney Matthews scouted in here. Probably has decent power or finesse moves. But yeah, I mean, this draft is just about staying on top. So we'll do what we can, but I can't really promise that anything's going to be too crazy because we don't pick until number 41. And I don't know. I think the talent that is available to us is going to be pretty good, though. So I'm somewhat excited, man. I think we're going to end up finding a pretty good player. Hopefully, it ends up being a starter for us, but it might not be. I mean, we'll have to see. And we will head into the draft. 2026 NFL draft. We have the 9th pick in the 2nd round, and we'll see how this starts out. I imagine it goes the way the mock draft predicted. Ian Carson is the first off the board. I imagine this will be Otis Holt to the Texans, and it is. I'm interested to see these overalls post-draft as well. Packers go with quarterback Gary Core. And, I mean, we're to this point in the franchise now where, you know, guys like Aaron Rodgers are probably out of the league. You know, I don't know that the Packers developed Jordan Love very much in the game. A lot of edge rushers going off the board here early, too. There goes another one. And another one. I feel like DJ Khaled. Khaled? I don't know what his name is. I think it's Khaled, actually. Now it's going to be a run of offensive linemen. Now, let me check out the draft board real quick, because when I see my favorites on here, we could consider taking an edge, because Azeez Ojulari might be in a weird spot. Luke Martin's a really good athlete. The rush moves are not quite there right now. I'm not really worried about him. Grant Amerson's the one where maybe we could consider moving up. Power rusher at a USC with A blocks at A pursuit. Great. B tackle. He is a good enough athlete, I would say, with A power moves, A hit power, A pursuit. Okay, we might have something with Grant Amerson. That could be a player worth at least considering a trade up, but it would cost a lot. Is he significantly better than Sidney Matthews? Maybe. They're different type of players, really. For our system, if we're going to stick 4-3, I would say Amerson's a little bit better of a fit. But Sidney Matthews is not bad either. Block shed's a bit low, but the tackle's high. And then I know I'm not pausing, by the way, because I'm not really worried about a lot of these guys going in front of me. Shamir McNeil. I do like the look of this. 6'3", 234 run stopper, A pursuit, A tackle. Very good athlete. With our current linebacker depth, wouldn't consider that. You know, linebackers that we're really considering high in the draft here are edge players. And Shamir McNeil is not one of them. Tevin Hooks, I'm not going to trade up for a tackle. We're already number 17 here. Emerson is still available. Again, it's not something I'm really heavily considering. When I think Robbie Young might fall to us, a guard that we could take. We'd have to make a decision between one of the two. We could take a corner, but that's a pretty strong position for us right now. Jerry Dickerson's a run stopper. I'm not really too interested in that. And then Christian Reese is also another player I'm really interested in. Guard here out of Auburn, only 21 years old. Decent enough athlete. Good attributes. I think it's going to be very difficult to get both Amerson and one of the offensive linemen, and I really don't want to trade up too much. So if Emerson's available by the Rams pick, maybe we could consider a trade up. But it's not really something I'm heavily considering at this point. And he is still available, though. Maybe it's worth a pause. Like, we know he's not a top 5 talent in the draft. We know that for sure. We know he's not an overwhelmingly good athlete or outside linebacker, but it's a little bit of a different story at defensive end. I think there might be enough here where it's worth trading up at this point. We don't have to go up a ton. We could package a player as well. When you look at this lineup, I do like Azeez Ojulari. I think he might be down to star dev, though, which is true. He should be only like 27, 26 years old. More of an outside linebacker. Finesse moves is high. I like Azeez, but we have to plan for the future. Azeez should be under contract, though, for the next 4 years, but he's not terribly expensive. I think we are going to sit in a 4-3. But getting another edge rusher is not a bad idea. You look at our depth, we literally have none. We have 2 edge rushers on the roster. It's Thibodeau and it's Ojulari. Hooper, you could move down, surely. I would agree with that. Akil Edmonds could be traded to make this work. And I like Akil Edmonds, but what is his role? He's good, but what is his actual role? That could be somebody we move. He could move back to linebacker for depth. I think the guy I'm going to first try and trade, I mean, we only have 2 tight ends, though. I was going to say Jaden Rhodes. Maybe not. I don't know. It could be Kadarius Toney, actually. It could be Kadarius Toney, and here's why. We're going to be in an offense that really heavily utilizes a tight end. And then we have Jalen Waddle. We have Larry Smith. And then we have the up-and-coming Kendall Weathersby. Toney's playing on the franchise tag. It would cost us quite a lot to get rid of him. But here's the thing. We experimented with the idea of a tag and trade. Waddle's under contract, but we're not paying his bonus, so it's not actually too expensive. Toney, we'd clear $15 million and we'd take a hit of $15 million. But that's a net positive for us. It's just, do we prefer him on the team and helping us out? Or would we prefer to take a player instead? And I think we're going to try and make a move for the future here. And they clearly need a wide receiver too. And they already have Wan'Dale Robinson, former Giant. Maybe they would appreciate Kadarius Toney. And I'll tell you, similar to the Stephon Diggs trade and the A.J. Brown trade, I'm comfortable just getting a round 1 pick back for Kadarius Toney. And it seems like we're going to have to give up just a little bit more as well. We do have good depth at defensive tackle. Not great, though. I thought there was one more. I'm going to try and trade like next year's 5 and a current 6 if that does not go through. Although we could keep that and just give them another player. It's just, who am I comfortable trading? We have a lot of good depth at receiver, but if we trade Kadarius Toney, that kind of goes away a little bit. They need an outside linebacker. You know what? You can have Marquise Scandrick. I'm going to take away that 5th. Scandrick has been a special teams player for us, but is only 25 years old, into the 70s. And that actually did not increase their interest at all, even though they have green interest in him. So that's a little bit surprising. But adding that 5th round pick gets it done. So Kadarius Toney is on the move. A massive draft trade, trading our 2nd highest rated receiver, Marquise Scandrick, and a 5th next year to get number 22 back. I'm kind of annoyed we had to give up anything more than Kadarius Toney, but it's a big time trade, and we are going to try and set ourselves up more for the future. Toney was getting paid a ton of money. I know we just franchise tagged him, but that was with the at least expectation we would consider different trade avenues, and that's exactly what we did, and here we are. And I'm hoping for not normal development. But either way, we have years to develop this player. He looks very good. A block shedding, A pursuit, A tackle, I believe. Right? No, B tackle. But A awareness, A block shed, A hit power, A pursuit, A power moves. He's good. 22 years old at a USC, 6'6", 255. We know he's a round 1 talent. He does have normal development. We'll be sliding down to play defensive end. 83 speed is pretty good at 6'6", 255, although I wish it was a little bit higher. 82 strength, 88 acceleration is phenomenal, to be fair. But he's going to play defensive end for us. I could see him being like a 75 or 76 overall, I think. But the way he was dropping in the draft, I think he did have normal development written all over him. Not that he was falling a ton or anything, but just he wasn't being scooped up. Those players that usually fall are usually the ones that fall for a reason. As I think we'll just simulate 9 picks here to get to our second selection now after the Kadarius Toney trade. And who is available? Looks like the top offensive linemen are off the board. So do we want to go corner? Cody Pratt is somebody who I liked. 6'2", only 21 years old from Arizona. C-Man, A-Press, B-Zone, and they're a decent athlete. So that's not an awful idea. We have pretty good depth at corner right now, so it's not exactly a huge need. I think pretty much all of the offensive linemen are off the board. They all are, which is okay because offensive line is fine for us right now. I know you guys are going to be shocked by this, but I'm actually not loving the safety class. We could go linebacker. Dakota Hatchett looks pretty good. Does have great speed. What did I like about him? Just well-rounded. B block, should be play rec, B pursuit, B tackle. Definitely well-rounded. Although it might be a little bit early for a player like him. What about Dan Barrett? I do think I'm going to trade this pick down, though. To tackle with elite agility and elite change of direction. So that is already super intriguing to me as a potential guard. 6'5", 312. It could be something we consider. I'm going to trade down, though. I'd like to get a pick still in this second round. And we're in the 2026 draft, so 52 or 50 is not too bad. We got a third rounder next year. We're moving down with Cincinnati. Buffalo is offering the exact same thing. I think that's what we might end up doing, you know. Because I do want a 2026 second. And the fact that we can also get a 2027 third puts us in a good spot. And I don't really think we're being offered a ton more than that. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this from Cincinnati here. We get number 50 in this year's draft, and we get a third rounder next year. And I hope they're bad. They might not be. But we get to move down about 10 spots and just reevaluate the board. And we get a third round pick just for doing so. And I'm not sure I would have drafted anyone at that spot anyway. Again, don't really love the safeties. John Barnett's really slow, even though I haven't watched. Unlikely that I would take a quarterback, even though this one looks like he could be decent enough. Good enough accuracy, big-time arms. Does not move well. And backup quarterback is going to be irrelevant. That really doesn't help us get better. So I think we're going to go Dakota Hatchett. I think that's the pick for us. Get more linebacker depth. You know, we could consider trading back up for the offensive lineman. But Dakota Hatchett's going to be the one. Good athlete, 88 speed, 87 acceleration. 6 foot, 244, only 21 years old. And oh my goodness, it's another Notre Dame linebacker. Dontrell Cobb, Caleb Claiborne, and now Dakota Hatchett. I'm building a Notre Dame linebacking core, which, you know what, historically, they've had some good ones. There goes Marquis Murray to Indianapolis. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen, but if that right tackle stays on the board at the top of the third round, I will probably move up. I do see a couple right tackles going off the board. I don't think the one I'm actually looking at is gone, though. Yeah, Dan Barrett is still available. If he gets to the third round, if he gets to that Vikings pick, maybe it happens. I have a feeling he's going to go before then, though. But it is still available. You know what? Let's try and make a move up. Our team needs our middle linebacker, right outside linebacker, and left outside linebacker, by the way. That's kind of funny. I don't know that I definitely agree with that, but I guess I could see why they would think so. We just do this? No, they want a lot more value than that. It's going to have to be a player. I do have a third next year I could move that we just acquired. That's probably going to be what happens. And, like, maybe there's depth somewhere. Not trading Claiborne. We don't really have depth at a lot of different positions, to be honest. I really can't afford to trade players. We need to fill out this draft a little bit. But I am going to try and make a move up. Oh, we're so close. I think a current 6 is going to get it done, even though I didn't really want to part with that. Ooh, it doesn't. I'm going to trade the other third, and that should probably go through. And it does. So it's 2/3 to move up from the back of the third round up to the top of this third round. And we're going to take a tackle. Not exactly a position we need a ton more depth at, but potential starting guard for me is kind of what I see here. He is 23, hoping for hidden development here. Very good athlete. I think would work well at guard, and he does have normal. It's going to be a lot of normal development as you get through the drafts, I found, because the CPU upgrades actual players, like who are already in the league, and I have a theory that that takes away from the draft classes, and that's why you see a lot of normal development sometimes. So I'm not exactly shocked that this draft has gone this way. 3 normal development players. I do think they're good, though. I think they look good. I'd be surprised if they were low overalls, to be honest. I think we've drafted only 70s right now. That tackle might be in the high 60s, but I think we've done quite well. It's just, obviously you see normal development, and normal is not what you want. We drafted an end, more depth at linebacker. We could use more depth at corner if there's a decent corner on the board, which, man, there really does not appear to be. Deontay Shorts is a projected UDFA. He's got C-man coverage, though. Oh, man, these guys are so bad. I really can't talk myself into any of these. I need a corner, but I can't. I'm going to maybe take a defensive end here. Do any of these guys look good? Is there anyone that's a steal here? They're all just UDFA talent. You're telling me there's not one steal down the board? Ugh. We'll go with Glenn Mills here from Stanford. Only 21 years old, 90 strength. He's a real, run stopper look, I would say, at 6'6", 286 with 90 strength. But they call him a power rusher, so maybe there's something there. Not something good, but something probably. This linebacker has A, zone coverage. Are you fast? Somewhat. All right. Coverage linebacker. 83 speed, 87 acceleration at 5'11", 227. He's about exactly the same athlete as the 6'5", 255-pound edge that we drafted in the first round. Imagine that. Interesting. So we drafted 374 overall players with our first 3 picks, all in different rounds. Emerson is a 74. Obviously normal dev, but 74 power rusher. 93 hit power is exceptional. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that for an edge. That is unbelievable. This guy's really a 74 normal. 93 hit power, 83 speed, 88 acceleration, 80 pursuit, 80 power moves, 78 block shed, 82 strength. Why is he so low? He's got every trait. Spin move, bull rush, strip ball, high motor. Why is he not, amazing? He looks way better than his overall would suggest. I'm going to move him to defensive end. And he jumps up to a 75 overall, although the development obviously does not change. Dakota Hatchett, also a 74, which is good depth. I know we do have some linebackers right now. He's got swim move and high motor. Coverage is good. Block shedding is not terrible. 86 hit power is pretty good. 88 speed is nice. Yeah, Dakota Hatchett really is not bad either. I know this is copium. I really think these players are pretty good. And then Dan Barrett is a 74. Strength, lead block, impact blocking are great. Run block finesse is really high. He's a good run blocker. Pass blocking isn't terrible either. 97 stamina. Important for offensive linemen, I would say. 81 acceleration, 73 speed. These are all really good players. And I think I'm going to move Barrett to guard. I think right guard makes the most sense for us now, where we have James Daniels. His overall jumps to a 76, by the way, when we do that. Then we have Mills and Moss, who are not good, 64 and 63. And let me see the top end of this class. I don't know that this was a stacked draft. Otis Holt was the highest overall as I expected. I thought he'd be a 77. Was not the case. He is an 82. Physical receiver, is already 23. Spectacular catch is a 98. Very good. Medium route running was indeed at least a B. I think that's an A at 83. Spectacular catch is crazy high. Jumping, obviously, very high. Agility and change of direction are insanely high for someone who is 6'2", 224. I could see him being an X factor. I wouldn't call him generational, but this is very obviously a high tier player. Only star dev, but obviously very, very good. And then the next highest is a 77 in Dalton Amos from Florida State. I think I looked at some of these corners, but we didn't really need corner so badly. And then it's just, you know, some 76s, including Dan Barrett, who we drafted at tackle to play guard. And in general, the draft was just not incredible for anybody, as we're to the 74s very quickly, which is where, you know, our players were. So as I said, I didn't think the draft was going to be too top heavy. Just a lot of talent kind of dispersed throughout. And I think we've done enough to keep our team at least where it is. Yes, we lost Kadarius Toney, but at the same time, we have good depth pickups and pieces we can potentially develop. Barrett is good depth. These guys could potentially become starters for us if we don't want to re-sign, you know, either Lindstrom, who might even be regressing to this point now that he's 29. No, he's not yet, but that will be an issue at some point. James Daniels as well. Could pick up another tight end in free agency. And then defensively, Hatchett and Emerson are good enough backups to play at any number of positions. So I like where our team is. We need another corner, I would say, and maybe another safety as well. But other than that, you know, we're in a great spot. So that's going to do it for this offseason, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully you enjoy the next episode when that comes out as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.